Boys and girls, sorry I couldn't be with you today, but I'm trying to give you the next best thing, which is me recorded teaching you a lesson on fractions. Yesterday we reviewed things that were necessary for you to be comfortable with or be successful with fractions. We talked about prime and composite numbers. We discussed what multiples, factors, greatest common factors, least common multiples were. Today we're going to go into why those things are going to be important. This is our standard for today. We're going to compare fractions with different numerators and denominators by creating common denominators. Let's start by talking about how a fraction is set up. Your fraction is set up with your numerator on top and your denominator on the bottom. The numerator represents the number of parts being represented in the fraction. Your denominator tells you the total number of parts in the whole that make up the whole. All right, let's start with this example. We're going to talk about the denominators because our focus is making unlike denominators the same. So here you have 5 as a denominator and 2 as a denominator. Your fraction is 2/5, or your problem is 2/5 plus 1/2. Before we can even compare or add these two, we have to make the whole the exact same. So what we can do to do that is to determine the least common multiple that these two denominators share. And we talked about that yesterday. We'll go over it briefly. What I'm going to do is start out by writing the multiples of 5, probably about 5 of them, just to see if I have a common multiple between 5 and 2. So the first 5 multiples of 5 is 5, and I told you what you could do is just write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 4 is 20. And 5 times 5 is 25. Okay? Now, I have my first 5 multiples for 5. Now I'm going to determine what my first 5 multiples are of 2. And I'll use the same concept that I used up here. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Times 3 is 6. Times 4 is 8. And times 5 is 10. Let's look and see if we have any common multiples between 5 and 2. Well, I have 10 here. And then I have, a 10 there. So a common multiple between the two is 10 and 10. And I don't think I have any more common multiples, but I think this is going to be our least common multiple. So we're just going to talk about how to come up with common multiples or least common multiples. We won't go any further to complete this problem until we get more practice with least common multiples. Here's another example. Find the LCM or the least common multiple of 2 and 3. So they want us to find 2 and 3. Oh, that marker. It's okay. Hold on. So again, we start out by writing the multiples. What I like to do is probably about the first 6 or 7. I'll probably do 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You don't have to do this if you are pretty good with your multiplication facts. But we're going to do